Alrighty then. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good everything to you. This is our last video lecture. I'm going to give you the keyword number 1, which is lawnmower, and let you know that this will be pretty brief. I just want to make sure you have all the notes to accomplish the final exam. The final exam review is under Files on Canvas, and you can actually take the final exam anytime online on Canvas from Wednesday, April 28th. It'll be open at 1 p.m. and then you have a full 8 days until Thursday, May the 6th at 5 p.m. Keyword number 2 is convertible. There's an access code for getting into the exam, and I put that on under announcements on Canvas, but it's Go Hawks 2021. The G and the H are capital or uppercase. The rest are lowercase letters. So I'm not going to put any embedded videos. I'll just give you the links. Last week I had to get 2 of them cut out, and that kind of just makes for a confusing video. But I will give you a couple of links that I hope you do look at. And just want to let you know that it's kind of been a pleasure. The only reason I say kind of is that I just didn't get a chance to meet any of you or talk to any of you. I had a brief conversation with 3 of you on the phone, so I feel like I almost sort of got to know the tip of the iceberg of 3 of you. My opinion on a fully online, non-synchronous class like we did is that it's maybe 50% as good, and it's certainly I can try to show my passion and give you what I have and what I know, but it is so much harder to do it to a screen of just myself. If it has to be online, I do like the online Zoom classes, where at least I get to see you, you get to see me, and we can have in real-time questions. But that was not the case for us, and keyword number 3 is semester. So let me go ahead and change out my face. There it is, I believe. Yep. Okay, make it real small. That didn't work. I paused it there for a second, so I think now I can sort of get it. Not sure yet. Well, I hope that's going to work for us. Let's get on to our notes. First one we had on Broadway. Actually, we had a couple on Broadway. The last one we had on Broadway was about Showboat. The next show that changed the world in Broadway was in 1943, Oklahoma. And up until then, shows certainly had a lot of dancing, and usually it was just done to sort of distract you while they closed an inner curtain and changed scenery around, and they just had girls come out front and do some dance numbers. Or almost always girls at that point. In Oklahoma, if you didn't really follow ballet, you could lose a lot of the storyline, because just with dance, without words either spoken or sung, they would move the storyline along quite a bit. So I've just got to refer to my notes here. Keyword number 4 is lunchroom. Then the next one was West Side Story, 1957. One of the most important shows. And Leonard Bernstein was not only a composer, but he was a conductor. He conducted the New York Philharmonic for many years, and a great pianist. I think we saw him play piano in the Rhapsody in Blue excerpt. But West Side Story is a great story. It's kind of a modern day retelling of Romeo and Juliet. 2 rival gangs in New York City, the Sharks and the Jets, and they don't get along at all. But a guy from one and a gal from another, Tony and Maria, fall in love. So they have to figure out how to get along, or do they? And they just remade it. Stephen the big guy that directed the Star Wars movies, just can't think of his name right now. He just produced or directed a new version of West Side Story. I don't know when it comes out. I think maybe December. But I would advise you to keep that on your mental list and maybe take a look. But West Side Story developed the concept of the triple threat. And that meant you had to be able to do all things equally well. And most people on Broadway could sing and act if they were, getting lead roles. And some of them had a little bit of dance ability, but in West Side Story, the cast stayed on stage for the whole show pretty much. Normally the leads would get to go backstage and the chorus would come out or the dancing group would come out. But in West Side Story, you had to do it all. And I'm sure a few of the auditions didn't go so well because people, put it on their resume that they can do those things. But I'm not so sure that they actually could when put to the test. Next, we have 1967. That's a Broadway show called Hair. Remember, the 60s were the hippie generation. This is 2 years before Woodstock. This is the first Broadway musical with an all rock and roll musical score. So every song in the piece is rock and roll. The biggest number that came out of it, and it became a top 40 hit, is Aquarius. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, age of Aquarius. Even had some nude scenes in it, which shocked conservative people that went, because again, we didn't have social media, so people did not necessarily see that coming. There was a British invasion, of course, in Broadway as well. And pretty much everything like Cats, which is by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and those sorts of shows just took Broadway by storm, where the sets were almost another character. In Phantom of the Opera, and hopefully you've seen that. If not, I would advise you to check out the movie. One of my good friends, Patrick Wilson, is the star of that one. He plays Raoul in Phantom of the Opera. It came out in 1986, and it was by the great Andrew Lloyd Webber. And it was a chandelier that was about the size of a normal classroom in your school, and it had to come falling to the ground 8 shows a week. So they had to figure out a way to make it of a material that it could be rehung the next night, and boom, there it was. 6 years before that, another great one, Les Mis, which is Miserables. That's not by Andrew Lloyd Webber, but most people would guess that it is if they didn't know better. If you walked up to what I call, man on the street, most people would say Andrew Lloyd Webber. But it's by a Frenchman, Claude Michel Schoenberg, not the Schoenberg we talked about in the early 20th century. I spelled Mis wrong. Miserables. It's an S. I think when we say Les Mis, L-E-S is pronounced Les in French English. I think we put M-I-Z, but I'm not doing that. And then 2 more. These didn't necessarily change the world, but I do want you to know about them if you don't already, because they're 2 of my favorites. Jonathan Larson. It also had an all rock. And some of you watched it. It was on the list for our concert videos. And then the other one, I would say Rent and this one are my 2 favorite, Wicked. That's by a guy named Stephen Schwartz. He had already made a very, very big time musical called Godspell, and he thought he was pretty much done with big hits, and then he was asked to write Wicked, and boy, it's taken off. Wicked is kind of like the backstory to The Wizard of Oz, and again, it's really, really fun. And then maybe you've heard of Lin-Manuel Miranda, but this was his first show that was successful. think it is spelled like this. You should have heard of him now. And it was the first show with an all hip-hop musical score. Hip-hop's really culture, a way of life. Rap is technically what the music would be called, but I think we use those interchangeably right now. And the big show that Lynn did is Hamilton, and that's what really put him on the map. About Alexander Hamilton. I need to give you the year. Let me figure that out. It's actually 2015. And I'm going to show you a couple of videos, but I'm just going to give you links to them here. One is Neil Patrick Harris when he was hosting the Tony Awards, which are the Broadway awards. The Emmys are TV awards, the Oscars are movie awards, and the Tonys are Broadway awards. And they didn't write a closing number for the show ahead of time. They hired Lin-Manuel Miranda to write the song during the live television show. So whenever Neil Patrick wasn't on stage, he was backstage with Lin-Manuel, who was writing it in real time and teaching it. And he was writing it based on the winners of the awards, and those winners are never announced ahead of time. So even for this, they wouldn't let him know ahead of time. So as he would watch someone win an award, he would write it into the song. And I thought it was genius when they did it at the end of the show, so I'm going to show you that. Keyword number 5 is brother. Let me just get this down. NPH video. And then the other one is going to be Kristen Chenoweth, who was in Wicked, the original, one of the original stars of Wicked. And there's a great duet in Wicked. But when she goes on the road and does her concert tour, she's alone. But she wants to do this duet. So she's figured out that, and a lot of artists do this, but she's figured out that all of her fans know the song. So she randomly picks someone to sing with her from the audience. And this one girl one time was a voice teacher. And I just thought it was, I mean, absolute magic. It's just one of my favorite moments all time. So now we're going into a new let me make this bold. Now we're leaving Broadway and going into another category, movie music. And we're not going to do much. We could do, well, actually we could do an entire class on movie music, but we're not going to. I don't know if you can remember, if you look up your notes just a little bit, you'll notice that 1927 is when Showboat came out, and Showboat changed Broadway forever. Also, 1927 is when we had the first full-length feature film with a soundtrack. And it was called The Jazz Singer, starring Al Jolson. Al Jolson was kind of controversial, especially now. We saw him in the first week of the Broadway video. He was the guy that wore the blackface. But before this song, this movie, they had had a little bit occasionally in some short films, but never a full-length feature film with talking and music. Before that, they would just have an organist play while the movie was going on in the theater. Sometimes an ensemble would play and try to keep up and accompany at exactly the right pace. And then this, one of the greatest scores of all time. I just want you to know this in case you don't. The music is by John Williams. To Star Wars. Star Wars, the movie. I might give you a clip there too. Where are we at time-wise? 14 minutes. Okay. So now we're going to go to rap. And the word rap And in the 60s, that word came about. People would just sit around and talk. They'd say, hey, you want to rap? Let's rap. Let's just rap. And it just meant talking, but, nothing formal, not trying to cure politics or disease or religion and stuff. So it's talking, and when the style of music was getting developed, it just became known as rap. The very first rap tune to enter into mainstream pop music, kind of crossover, and it went to number, I'm not positive, I want to say 36. 36 on the pop charts. And I'll show you. Oh, I haven't told you what it was. It's called Rapper's Delight. And the group was the Sugar Hill Gang. The group didn't actually exist before this recording was made. They had these three guys had kind of entered a contest, sort of like an American Idol, but for rapping. It wasn't on TV or anything. And the three of them won, and they won a recording contract. So they went to the studio the next day, and they were going to learn this song. And the engineer at the studio wanted to write the name of the song and their group on the box that he was going to put the tape in. And he said, "What's the name of the group?" And they said, we just met this morning. We don't have a name. We're not really a group." And he said, "Well, since this is the Sugar Hill recording label, you guys are the gang that we've hired to do this. We'll call you the Sugar Hill Gang." And that's pretty much how it got started. And then in the 80s, I'm going to show you another video there, which is kind of neat. The other one I'm going to show you of this particular song is something that Jimmy Fallon developed on his version of The Tonight Show. And that is, he had probably an intern film or, DVR the nightly news with Brian Williams and Lester Holt for a year. And then he had him edit it down to one word at a time. So we pretty much had a word bank of almost every word or syllable a person would utter. And then he could type them into the program that they wrote, and you could perform the song or the speech just by these edits. And it's just really funny to see, because syllable by syllable, you see their clothes changing and stuff like that. So that's kind of neat. And then I think this is going to be my last note. I think then the first rap tune that really, really went huge into the mainstream. I mean, rap was very popular, but I would say it had, by and large, its own lane at the time. And when it crossed over into the other lane with Rapper's Delight, and then in this particular one, it was called Walk This Way. I wanted to show that to you, but the copyright on the video would not allow me to even edit it, so I can't show you the whole thing. I might show you the link to the song, though. Walk This Way. And it was a collab by Aerosmith, and they had done it alone in '75, and it went to number 10. But then when they did it as a collab with Run DMC in 1986, 87, it went to number 10. Keyword number 6 is spy. And I think that's it. I just need to check, so I'm actually going to pause you. No time will even go by. Oh, I do not think you did notice that. Keyword number 7 is Miami. Was watching the show Dexter last night, so that's why I thought of Miami. I think technically it takes place in Miami Beach. So I guess this is probably the last time you'll see my face. If you happen to see me in the mall or something, you know what I look like. I don't know what you guys look like. Stop me, talk to me. I would love to have gotten to know you. Very, very tough. I know this was a tough semester, and some of you didn't get everything done, didn't accomplish what you wanted to, and I do commiserate with you and appreciate that. But we do have to have some way of measuring you. Keyword number 8 is monkey. So I think by and large you guys did a great job, and if we'd been together I think we would have had a really good time. Keyword number 9 is household. Keyword number 10 is ceremony. And I'm hoping that you're all victorious in life and do very, very well. You've got my cell number if you have any questions ever. If you need any advice about life, if you need any protection from anything, I'm a really good mentor, big brother, father figure kind of guy to know. So if you don't have someone, or maybe it's too difficult to talk with someone in your family, I'll still be around. You can always text me. And it would be my pleasure, my privilege to be able to talk to you and maybe help you out with something. And that's it from here. This is only 22 minutes long. Keyword number 11 is what I wish for all of you. Victory. See you guys.